Minecraft is way too easy, because when you start a new world, in the first 5 minutes you can get full diamond armor with no problem. So, what would happen if the world was sped up on 1000 tick speed? Let's find out in 100 days, 1000 tick speed Minecraft hardcore. We started as we start every world, chopping down a tree, but then it already started getting nighttime. So we were smart and dug a hole in the ground, and that is gonna be our base. In the first night we expanded a hole a little bit, and before we knew it, the night was already over. And while the night was over, it still was raining, so we couldn't go outside. So we spent the next couple of days just digging more dirt to expand the base. While I was expanding the base and getting some stone tools, Surf was making a mine down so we could get some iron and some diamonds eventually. At day 2 we started to go outside to get some wood, because we had a wood shortage. We also needed apples to get some food, because otherwise we would starve to death. We then spent the rest of day 2 collecting some wood and apples, just so we could stay alive and get more tools. Then it became nighttime again. So we quickly went back into our hole and just made the base bigger. Surf continued on his mine, and when I got back up, it was already day. So I continued with wood chopping. I then started a little sugarcane farm, and that was basically all I did. After that, I tried to fix the entrance, but I failed miserably and didn't achieve anything. So that was kind of useless. I then spent the next whole of day 4 crafting stairs and trying to fix the entrance. That took the whole day. Eventually it worked, but I wasted a whole day on that. But we now had a proper entrance and I was happy with it. At day 5 I finally crafted our first furnace. That is just so I could smelt the 37 of raw copper that Surf gave me. I wanted to smelt it so we finally could get our first pieces of armor, so we wouldn't die instantly. I then had to traverse all the steps that Surf dug, because he was going busy with the mining. When I finally found him, I gave him his armor and had to walk all that damn way back. Surf did find some iron, so I quickly smelted it and made an iron pickaxe, just in case he would find diamonds. So I brought it again to him and gave it to him. After that I made a little storage and put everything in there that I owned, just so I wouldn't have a full inventory all of the time. I then spent the last part of day 6 making myself a tunnel at Y level 16, just so we could get some more iron. I did not succeed, but luckily Surf had some, and he gave it to me and I quickly went upstairs to smelt it. With that iron that I just smelted, I crafted us some shields, so we would be safer. We then spent the next couple of days just underground. We also found some iron and just made some iron armor. Now we were fully geared up. But then it was day 10. And of course, feast day. So we ate our apple together. Happy feast day. After that, we finally went outside again, but just to collect some wood and apples, because we now ran out of food. Then it started raining, so that was our sign to get indoors. While we were indoors, Surf got the most genius idea I've ever heard. And that was making a trench around our base, so the mobs would fall in. So that was the first thing we did when we finally could get out. But we were too slow, because it was starting to get dark. On day 12, we lit up the place a bit and continued making the trench. We then spent the next couple of days just making the trench and making sure that no mobs could get in. We then decided to make the trench 1 block wider, just in case. Day 17 was a rainy day, so we decided to stay indoors and just expand the underground base a little bit. Day 18 was just a day of chopping some wood and collecting some apples. At day 19, we continued making the trench and expanding the ground around the trench a little bit, so we would have minimum threat. Then day 20 rolled around, so we ate an apple together outside. I then replaced the floor of our platform with cobblestone, just so it looked better together. Then I decided to quickly farm all the sugarcane from the sugarcane farm. I then spent the whole of day 21 just continuing to make the platform cobblestone. Day 22 started off with me harvesting some sugarcane and then finishing off the platform. And then, that evening, disaster struck. It started raining and the phantoms were coming. And Surf couldn't get on in time, so he died. That was when we made the singular most controversial decision. What I haven't told you yet is that this was already our 6th try. And we had never came this far. So even though here it seems like everything was lost and we had to start over again, we decided to continue the world. Because this was the furthest we ever came so far. And trust me, it will work out eventually. So then, at day 23, I spawned Surf in again. And we decided that the punishment for dying was losing all of your stuff. So even if that meant losing the iron pickaxe. And because he had lost everything, including his armor, I decided to be a generous friend and give him my copper armor. We started off day 24 by chopping some trees. And then disaster struck again. So there went my iron boots and my copper pants. What a waste of resources. At day 25 we decided to stay indoors just for our own safety for a day. So I then mined some copper so we could use that maybe later. Using that copper I crafted myself pants and shoes just so I had full armor again. At day 26 I decided to build some gravestones for Surf. Because he had died twice, so I decided to build 2 gravestones. Day 27 and Surf went on a mission to find a bed. Then he returned with one. So I quickly set the sleeping percentage to 1 so we could easily skip nights from now. Day 28 and day 29 were just spent chopping some trees. Because I was planning on building a cool base. So then the next couple of days were just spent building the base. And of course, what makes a good base without polished andesite wall? At day 33, I crafted some stone bricks. So on day 34, I could make a ceiling. I also mined some sand, so we could have windows eventually. At day 35, I smelted the sand and placed the glass in the ceiling just so we could see what time of day it was without worrying about the phantoms. I also decided that a perfect house should have doors at all sides. So that's what I did. At day 36, I finished all the doors and the walls. So now the base was finally finished. I spent the whole of day 37 just chopping wood. Because I had a plan for the base. And that needed more floors than only one. At day 38, I made ladders just so I could reach the 2nd floor. At day 39, I started making the outline for the 2nd floor. At day 40, I finished the outline and made sure everything was lit up perfect. I then traversed all the stairs down because Surf had found diamonds. But we couldn't mine them because remember the tragedy that happened on day 22? I then spent the whole of day 41 just getting upstairs. At day 42, I started with adding an extra layer to the 2nd floor. But then it started raining, so I spent the rest of the day staying indoors. I started day 43 with mining some sand because I wanted more glass. After some of it had smelt, I placed it at the 2nd floor. At day 44, I placed in the rest of the windows and the ceiling. I then decided to switch it up a little bit and replace the cobblestone with glass. I then traversed down all the stairs, so on day 45 I could make a mine to mine some iron, because we unfortunately lost our iron pickaxe when Surf died. I only did find copper, but on day 46 I managed to find some iron. I then smelted that iron and could finally craft a pickaxe on day 47. With that iron pickaxe we could finally mine the diamonds I mentioned earlier. Day 48 was spent once again just climbing up the stairs. At day 49 I mined more sand because I needed a lot more glass. We also discovered we had a pillager problem. Now we reached the halfway point, I decided to make some more stairs so we could navigate to the base easier. We also made a start on a farm, so we would have infinite food and no problems. We then spent all of day 51, day 52, day 53 and day 54 just expanding the farm and making sure that it was all dirt. Day 55 was spent doing nothing, but on day 56 I continued with the second floor. On day 57 I finally finished the second floor and I also accidentally turned on my mini-app. My apologies, it will be turned off on day 60. I spent day 58 just watching some wheat grow. Oh my god! I then followed Surf to an awesome discovery he did. It was a igloo with a basement. We also found out that the villager and the zombie villager were still alive, so we could have a chance of villagers. Then Surf did what had to be done. He cured the villager. We then waited, and it shouldn't be that long, but on day 60 the villager got finally cured. We then found out that the basement and the hallways Surf had been digging were on kind of the same level. So we decided to dig to each other. And that's when I made the risky decision to quickly run to the forest alone. Luckily I survived, and then we started digging the hallways to each other. So now we have a beautiful straight view straight to the villagers. On day 62 we farmed a little bit and also chopped some wood. Day 63 and day 64 were just kind of the same thing, of just farming and wood chopping and farming. When it started raining on day 64, I could finally grab the chance to stand in the dome on the second floor and just admire everything we had built. On day 65, Surf started building a sheep pen, so we could maybe get some sheep. I then decided to help a little bit. The rest of the day I just quietly observed Surf. I spent day 66 till day 68 just farming some wheat and chopping some wood. On day 69 I broke my bed and placed it upstairs, just so I could reach it easier. Meanwhile Surf had finally catched his first sheep. I also farmed some sugarcane and quickly inspected the villagers. At day 70 Surf had catched his second sheep, so I dyed them white, just so we could breed them for all white sheep. I also started constructing a bridge to the sheep pen. On day 71 I finished the bridge. I also added some support beams so it wouldn't fall down. On day 72 I mined some sand because I had a plan to encase the bridge in glass. On day 73 I crafted some bread so you wouldn't die, and on day 74 I managed to smelt some glass and start with the encasing of the bridge. On day 75 I made some good progress with the glass by the bridge, but then it started raining, so we went indoors. On day 76 I mined some more sand because I ran out, and even though day 77 was a rainy day, I still had chance to continue on the bridge. On day 78 I ran out of sand again, but when it had smelted I could finally finish the bridge on day 79. On day 80 I quickly redid the floor of the second floor. Day 81 and day 82 were spent fully underground. I was trying to find some more iron, but I could not find any. Day 83 was a fun farming day, because all of the wheat had grown. On day 84 I tried to remove a piece of cobalt deep slate and replace it with dirt. Little did I know that I would not succeed. At day 85 I spotted Surf building something weird on the ice. I did not question it further. I started off day 86 with trying to fix the ground in the sheep hole. It did not work, because there was a sheep stuck inside. Then we had unexpected visitors, so I warned Surf and he came inside. On day 87 the pillagers got stuck in a hole, so that was nice. That is why Surf went back to continue building. On day 88 I decided that the base needed one more expansion, so I started building a tower on the top of the roof. At day 90 I made some awesome progress on the tower. I decided how high I wanted the tower to be on day 91. It was pretty high. Day 92 was just spent building the tower. At day 93 I made a little entrance to the tower, to make sure it was all safe. I also added a little floor in the tower and made a platform on top. After that, on day 94 I expanded the platform and added some walls, so we wouldn't fall off and die on the last few days. I then mined my bed just to keep it in my inventory and started building a roof on the platform. After that I could finally finish the roof, and then I spotted a third group of pillagers. Luckily they couldn't see us because we were way up in the sky. On day 97 I surrounded Surf super cool temple thingy or whatever with walls to reduce all of the fall danger we had. I then found out that Surf was making a cool chimney thingy I also helped him get down, so he wouldn't die again. On day 99, I inspected the pillagers and their location. I also found out that Surf tried writing his name on the ice. That was what he was doing there. And then, that last night, we stripped down to our nothing, just to celebrate us being together up there. We also had the fantastic idea to craft ourselves some diamond pickaxes, just to end the world beautiful. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.